Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, this week our crew is becoming part of the show and taking the plunge, swimming with the fishes at the Florida Aquarium. And you can do it too.
We'll use this, which we call our shark wand.
We hope to produce millions of corals. How coral researchers are making big strides when it comes to preserving these magnificent creatures. And this pooch needed help fast. We'll ride along in the animal ambulance. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. Hello and welcome to Animal Outtakes. I'm Marcia Panucci. Coral reefs are home to more than 25% of the ocean's marine life. But come to think of it, there might be another spot you can go and see an abundance of sea life. How about an aquarium?
When you visit an aquarium, you expect to see this, lots of fish behind an acrylic window. But here at the Florida Aquarium in Tampa, guests get a totally unique experience, a chance to become part of the exhibit. Come on, I'll show you what I mean.
It's the largest exhibit at the Florida Aquarium. This tank is about 500,000 gallons, and we are about to go for a swim.
All right, here we are with Jamie, who's a dive master here at the aquarium. And tell me, what is this? It kind of looks like scuba gear, but not.
It does. This is what we call the scuba experience apparatus. And we know it's called that because it says it right here. And it quite luckily spells out sea, which is appropriate because we're going to be diving in a little bit of ocean water here.
And so this is a tank. You can breathe air off of it.
Correct.
Same thing, but what makes it different?
Well, so the tank is very similar to what a professional scuba diver would use. It's compressed air. So it's just like the air we're breathing right now, no different. It's not any crazy mixtures, just regular air like we're breathing right now.
The gear also contains a regulator for you to breathe off of and a vest. But unlike traditional scuba gear, this vest is kind of like a life jacket, keeping you on the surface of the water.
So they keep this exhibit about 72 degrees year-round, which is very comfortable for the fish. But for a Florida girl, 72 can be a little chilly. And that's why we wear a wetsuit. What's great about wetsuits is they actually trap a layer of water between your skin and the suit, and your body heat warms you up. So 72 degrees is going to be quite comfortable now with this.
We'll use this, which we call our shark wand. The reason we have it striped like this is that most of the animals, especially the sharks, will recognize the contrasting color and steer away from it. So as we make our way into the deep side, I'll go out first, making sure that the traffic is clear. I'll invite you out after me. I'll then ask you to grab a hold of the gray rail, which is just outside the rail there, keeping your body close up against the fence. I'll come beside you. We'll be on one side of this wand, you'll be on the other, and from that point I will be doing all the work. So you will just be holding on, breathing, relaxing, enjoying the animals.
I like that. I don't want to work.
It's a good deal for you.
That's it.
So who can take the plunge? Well, just about anyone, from 6 years old to 106.
One of the best things that we can do here at the Florida Aquarium is connecting people with animals. We want people to get impassioned. I mean, I'm clearly impassioned about these animals. I've made a career of it. And the best thing we can do is to just make that contagious. We want everybody to come to the Florida Aquarium and really fall in love with nature.
And you can't get any closer to nature. From sharks, like these sand tigers, to rays, turtles, and more than 1,600 fish. All of them, yep, right below you.
Being in the water with sharks, they have excellent senses. They see, smell, hear everything before you ever do. And sharks are pretty smart. They usually swim away. But our sharks here, we build a trusting relationship with all our animals, so you're safe as can be. You're in the safe hands of a dive master with excellent equipment. You're going to have so much fun, you're going to forget to be afraid. That's the best experience. You're going to be too much time spent being excited with the sharks. That's the real experience. Be afraid, you're going to have too much fun.
Jamie, that was amazing.
You liked it?
I did, and
Awesome.
the best part was, on any other dive, you wouldn't see all these animals.
No?
You'd have to make multiple dives just to see all those sand
Yeah.
tigers.
Sea turtles,
yeah,
morays, barracudas, tarpons, you name it, we've got it.
that
Rays.
was amazing, and so close.
They get very, very close.
Yeah, the best part was going through, and those sand tigers were literally right there. And you did want to touch them. I really did, but yeah. But then when you were looking at them and they were watching me, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's nice because it's always a controlled environment, so you always know what you're getting. You're getting a consistent temperature, a consistent visibility, so every dive is the same fabulous experience.
That's it. It was just the perfect dive.
If you are ready for your own adventure, log on to the Florida Aquarium's website to learn more about all the interactive experience that they have to offer at floridaaquarium.org. You might remember we recently learned about corals, how this plant, animal, and mineral is an important part of the marine ecosystem. Now, let's head back to Mote's International Center for Coral Reef Research and Restoration, where we got up close to see how researchers are making big strides in preserving these magnificent creatures.
We've lost 25 to 40% of the world's corals. We've lost 98% of two of the coral species, the giant majestic elkhorn coral and the small, beautiful, fragile staghorn coral, both now listed as endangered species on the endangered species list. They were the oaks and the maples of the underwater forest when I grew up, and I'm hoping to restore those.
This is the mission of Dr. Vaughn and all the researchers here at Mote's International Center for Coral Reef Research and Restoration, to work at finding a way to bring back this unique organism. Dr. Vaughn says climate change is one of the big threats to our coral reefs.
We had slow temperature changes up and down in normal cycles, but that 100,000-year cycle is now happening in just a couple dozen years. So we're burning what took 8 billion years of fixing carbon into the ground in the form of plants, into fuels, digested into oils and propane and methane, and we're burning it back off in just 1 century, back into CO2. If CO2 had been a color gas, it had been an odor gas instead of odorless, it had been purple and smelled like rotten eggs, we would all be knowledgeable that we are killing ourselves. But you can't smell it, you can't see it. And for some reason, people don't believe the scientific meters that say it's there and it's happening.
Coral is delicate and slow growing. A coral head like this one can take up to 100 years to grow to this size.
We used to take a coral this big, wait 2 years so it got a little bigger, cut it in two. We now take a coral this big, cut it into 20 to 100 tiny corals, each coral the size of that little spot, and within months grows up to the size that it would have taken 3 years to grow.
And now, researchers have found a way to grow thousands of corals at a time, and the corals are growing at accelerated speeds. It's a tedious process, but one with impactful results.
So the normal sequence now would be to take a coral this big, which would have taken 3 years to get this size, and we will cut this into 20 little pieces. Each of the 20 pieces will grow back to this in 3 to 6 months. Now we have 20 pieces that are the same size. When we plant them about 2 inches apart in the same area with the same 20 pieces that came from the same single parent. And when we plant them, within just 1 or 2 years, you can see like in this one in front of me, they start to get about this size and they start to touch each other. And most corals do not like to touch each other because corals do not like getting grown over by another coral. But if you notice that these corals are not only touching each other, but they're not fighting, they're not killing each other like they would normally do. They're happily touching each other because they came from the same parent. They're actually clones. So they know and they sense that it's their own tissue, and they literally fuse back together like you see these ones in the background and form a coral head that would have taken 70 years to grow and these are only 2.5 to 3 years old. And if we can do that, there's some corals the size of a car that are 300 years old. And there's regretfully too many dead skeletons that are starting to dissolve. We could take hundreds of pieces of the same clone, put it on the top, and literally just like a lawn with sod growing a new grass on a dead lawn, we could reskin new life over a dead coral head that could have been 300, 500 years old. Bring it back to life.
Coral reefs are essential, providing food and shelter to fish, oxygen for us to breathe, and they also protect our coastline from high waves and storms. So how can you help coral reefs? One way is to reduce your carbon footprint. Ride your bike or walk when you can. Get ready. We are hopping on Vet Care Express, the animal ambulance, to follow one of their emergency cases next. Every dog deserves a lifelong loving home. Dante's Den provides a pristine, comfortable haven for dogs that have been abandoned or surrendered by their owners. We ensure that every pup in our Joyful Dogs adoption program receives lots of love and attention, is properly immunized, spayed or neutered, and is in good health. Prospective pet parents undergo a thorough adoption review to ensure a lifetime of love and care. Find your new furry best friend at Dante's Den. For more information, go to dantesden.org or call 844-DANTES-DEN. Dante's Den, continuing the love. Welcome back. You never know when your pet might need urgent care. And when one pet owner heard her dog yelp, she knew he was in need of help. Let's get back on the road with the crew of Vet Care Express.
You ready to go out? You want to go out? I let them out every morning in the yard. I went in the house and I heard that horrible screaming they make when they're hit by a car. And I ran out. And I didn't see it, but I'm positive a cat was in our yard. And he tried to jump the fence in that corner, and he was just laying there on the ground. Just couldn't get up. I didn't know what happened to him. I thought he had a broken spine. I didn't want to handle him anymore because I thought it'd make it worse. Us moving him, you know, whatever it was.
We were told that he was down in the rear from a traumatic injury, so we knew that we had to be prepared to be able to move him in the safest, most stable manner possible. When we first saw him, he really wasn't, he had no motion down in his rear legs at all. So we knew we had to just take things extremely slowly and carefully. We got him on a stretcher, and with back dogs, any type of suspected injury, because at this point we didn't know what his injury was, it's called package. We package him on the stretcher to where he's in his most comfortable position, but we also want to limit his movement as much as possible. And we were just taking the very best care of him to get him quickly to the neurosurgeon.
Every day there's been progress, some kind of progress. He had a blood clot on the spinal cord, and the spinal cord was curving around that blood clot. Then he had hemorrhaging in there and a lot of debris. So the next day he did the surgery, and he said he should be, you know, pretty good.
It's really important, especially in any type of traumatic injury, that they use an animal ambulance. The reason that it's better to call us, I tell people it's all the same as with human ambulances. You know, we're trained, we're equipped, we know specifically what's best for the pet. We're in constant communication with both the veterinary hospital that sent them and the receiving veterinary hospital. It's just so rewarding to see that our veterinary community is just the people that work together in this to give him a full recovery and give him an opportunity for full recovery. We're just so blessed in this community to be able to do that.
Nemo is getting better every day. His owners expect that he will make a full recovery and be back to chasing cats and squirrels again very soon. If snakes give you the heebie-jeebies, our next segment might just change your mind. They are one of the world's most heaviest and longest snakes. But don't worry, this python, like all pythons, is non-venomous. Terry, when we first started this show, Animal Outtakes, 5 seasons ago, I had one caveat, that I would never work with snakes. And here I am with you, working with snakes.
Happy Halloween.
Yes, who's going right into your
you
pocket.
said that, and there she goes.
And there she goes, right.
She's feeling hurt already.
Yeah. You are a herpetologist. Please tell us what that really means.
It's a relatively loose term these days, but it's someone who works seriously with reptiles and amphibians.
So who do we have here?
This is a little girl who's a reticulated python. They're found in the old world. They're found in Malaysia, Indonesia. Remarkable snakes. They are considered to be one of the 2 largest snakes in the world. The longest one ever measured was a bit more than 33 feet in length.
Wow.
And probably at that length weighed in the neighborhood of 380, 390 pounds. They get to be quite large. There are varying populations of them. Some of them don't get as large as others. The reticulated pythons are some of the best known. They're also very pretty animals.
She's a very pretty
You
girl.
can see
She's
the
got a lot of iridescence.
Yeah, the iridescence that you
Now,
see.
what does reticulated truly mean?
It has to do with the pattern. It's a reticulated pattern. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
And their technical name, Python reticulatus, same deal.
Now, you've referred to her as a girl. Oh, hi there. And I kind of watched, and I'm trying to figure out how you figured that out.
Well, you know, it's not the easiest thing with snakes. To make sure of what you've got, you usually have to probe them.
Now, what is her life expectancy in captivity?
The truth is, we don't know for sure, because most of the animals in captivity have not been kept under what I would call ideal conditions. They're either fed too much too fast, or they're not taken care of well enough, or what have you. We're just now learning more and more about the longevity, but if I had to give you an enlightened viewpoint based on my experience, they should be able to make 30, 35 years.
So she's a long-lived gal,
Oh yeah,
huh?
oh yeah.
We've heard a lot about the pet trade. I personally, I'm going to hang in with dogs if you don't mind.
I have 2 of my own, so.
But certainly they make good pets. Do
Snakes
you
can
encourage
make amazing pets. Yes, I do encourage people, but before they do it, forget about the internet. Go get some good books. There's so much misinformation out there on the internet. Go do a little reading. Sit down with some books about the subject.
Now, how often does she eat?
Oh, we'll feed them, and this is one of the beauties of a reptile for a pet. We'll feed her anywhere from once a week to once every 3 or 4 weeks. Truthfully, they are better off if you don't feed them regularly. Stagger it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In the wild, she's not going to find something, you know,
Every
it's
Monday,
Sunday,
Wednesday,
yeah,
and Friday,
exactly.
right?
we don't have that going on. So many things about these animals that are just incredibly fascinating. We're just learning these days more and more.
Snakes are one of the most misunderstood creatures on Earth. Maybe it's their appearance, or knowing they have fangs and can swallow their prey whole. Whatever it is, I have to tell you, I think I'm getting to really like and appreciate them the more I learn about them. Coming up, the doc is in with the answers to one of your pet questions. Thanks for staying with us. What are we going to talk about today, Benson? Cats? Dr. Glassman, we're here with Putty, and Putty could be diagnosed with diabetes. We know that at this point, perhaps she is not. But she could be, and this is a very common ailment amongst cats,
Right.
is it not?
Diabetes is a common disease, probably more common in dogs than cats, but cats do get it quite a bit also. And the common signs would be, in general, drinking more and urinating more, okay? Because sugar is being passed out in the urine, and that actually sucks water with it, so you get thirsty because you'll dehydrate. Anyway, so drinking more and urinating more are the biggest signs of diabetes. And then weight loss. If it goes on long enough, you're losing weight too. But
Can this occur at any age?
yeah, it can start in young cats even. Still probably more common in middle to older aged cats. But yeah, a young cat could get diabetes.
And let's define a younger cat is what ages and a middle-aged cat is?
Well, let's start with seniors.
Okay, then we work our way down.
We'll work our way
Okay.
backwards. Senior cats, I consider probably the beginning of it is the 7 or 8 year age range, because that's when a lot of the common old age diseases start creeping in. So I'll actually usually recommend to clients 7 or 8 years of age do some routine screening to pick up some of these diseases before they get advanced. And then below 7-ish, of course, is probably middle-aged, and young age is probably only up maybe to a few years of age, 3, 4. That's an arbitrary, delineation. But
Well, Putty, what do you think, huh?
all right, so you now have a diabetic cat. We're going to pretend Putty's diabetic.
Putty, you're diabetic.
And we're going to teach Marcia how to give an insulin shot.
Oh, my.
And she used to do her dogs, I understand,
did,
but
I
never
did.
did a cat. And I'm going to show you a technique that most people don't use, but I like it a lot more
Okay.
personally, especially in cats. All right, so anyway, oh, don't break my bottle of cortisone. We're not injecting insulin today. We're going to inject a tiny bit of cortisone, which
And that
be
is not
perfectly
harmful
fine. No,
to
not
her?
the tiny bit we're going to give.
Okay.
So you'll get a box of insulin syringes from your veterinarian usually. They come 100 in a box, little tiny syringes. I don't know if you can get a close-up. These are really little needles. Tiny, tiny little needles, so they barely feel it. And when you get good, they really don't feel anything at all. So you would have your bottle of insulin. We're going to pretend this is insulin.
Okay.
And you just gently mix it. Okay. You have to be in the refrigerator normally.
Yes.
And you would hold it up, put the needle into the bottle, and then you suck up your medicine. And these are measured in units. This is a 12-unit syringe. So you measure however many units the vet tells you to start. We're going to just do 2 units here. Okay. And what I like to do, a common way that most everybody learns, is to tent the skin and pop it under.
That's how I did it.
First of all, you should not do that in the neck of a cat with insulin, because the skin is thicker in the neck of a cat, and it's been shown, doesn't absorb uniformly.
Okay.
So I like the thinner skin on the flank. And I want you to look at the skin. I part the fur and literally look at the skin, dart it in, and then inject. So let's lay Putty on the side.
Well, Putty was getting calm here.
Well, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, Putty was getting rather calm. So
All right, let's lay Putty
should...
down on the
Okay.
side.
All
You
right.
hold Putty's scruff, kind of.
Okay.
And then what I do is I like to literally look at the skin. I part the fur, just stab it straight in, and then inject. It's easy.
And Putty never
Didn't even budge.
didn't even know.
You wanna try?
No, that's okay.
But anyway, that's how I personally like to give insulin shots in a cat. I think it's very easy. You just part this fur, look at the skin, stab it straight in like a dart, and then inject.
And how many times during a day would you have to
You would do
this?
it normally twice a day for insulin injections.
And they can live, they can live a very normal life on this.
lifespan, sure, because you're really fixing the disease, not 100%. We never control them and regulate them perfectly. But yeah, twice a day insulin shots, sometimes special foods your veterinarian will recommend too, high protein, high fat foods, low carb foods will help regulate. So yeah, disease that can be controlled for years and years and years.
Well, I
and
think
they
she
can live
should,
a normal life.
I think she should get a little bit of catnip for this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a little cortisone.
She was a great
She got some
patient.
cortisone. That'll help her feel good.
Great advice from the doc as usual. We hope you've had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. I'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some wild adventures. Until then, thanks for watching. You know this cat's gonna bolt.
All right, ready?
All right, Jamie. Woo!
How'd you like it?
My hair's stuck.